The unexpected visitor, Marcus Thompson, was having the worst Tuesday of his life when she appeared. His coffee machine had broken. His boss had rejected his engineering proposal for the third time, and now he sat alone in his cramped apartment, overlooking the Chicago skyline, wondering if 35 was too late to change careers entirely. The air behind his couch began to shimmer like heat waves rising from summer pavement. Marcus rubbed his eyes, blaming exhaustion, but the shimmer grew stronger. Reality seemed to fold in on itself, creating a doorway that definitely wasn't supposed to exist in his living room. She stepped through with the grace of ice, someone who owned every room she entered. Tall, elegant, with silver blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the dim apartment light. Her eyes were violet storms, and her hair flowed like liquid starlight. She wore robes that looked woven from nebula dust, and her presence filled the small space with an otherworldly energy that made Marcus's teeth ache. Without hesitation, without explanation, she crossed the room in 3 fluid steps. Marcus tried to speak, tried to move, but found himself frozen as she knelt beside his chair. From seemingly nowhere, she produced a ring that pulsed with inner light, silver with veins of blue that matched her skin. Before Marcus could protest, before he could even fully process what was happening, she took his left hand and slid the ring onto his finger. The metal was warm, almost alive, and the moment it settled into place, Marcus felt something shift deep in his chest. A connection sparked to life, electric and intimate. "You are mine now," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated. In his bones, "I am Zephyra of the Void Runners, and you have been chosen." Marcus stared at the ring, then at her, then back at the ring. It seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat, and he could swear he felt something else breathing alongside. Him in his mind. Chosen for what exactly? He managed to croak. To bond with me, to fight beside me, to help me save both our species from the coming darkness. Zephyra's expression softened slightly. Your people call it marriage, though that word is insufficient for what we now share. Marriage? Marcus's voice cracked. Lady, I don't even know your last name. Also, you just broke into my apartment through what I can only assume was a tear in space-time itself. Time is short, Zephyra said, settling onto his couch as if she belonged there. The Devourers have found Earth. They consume worlds, strip them of all life and energy. My people have fought them across 17 galaxies, but we are losing. Marcus looked around his apartment at his pile of dirty dishes and his half-finished engineering projects. And you think I can help with that? I can't even get my coffee machine to work properly. Zephyra's lips curved in what might have been a smile. Humans possess something unique, something we desperately need. She touched the ring on his finger. Adaptability, stubbornness, the ability to find solutions where none should exist. Through this bond, I can access those qualities. The ring pulsed again, and suddenly Marcus could feel her emotions like echoes of his own. Determination, fear, hope, and underneath it all, a loneliness so vast it made his chest tight. So what happens now? He asked quietly. Now, Zephyra said, we prepare for war. The bonding process the next morning brought revelations that made Marcus question everything he thought he knew about reality. Zephyra hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, and apparently didn't need to breathe as often as normal people. She sat cross-legged on his floor, eyes closed, with the ring on Marcus's finger glowing steadily. The bond is stabilizing, she explained when he stumbled out of his bedroom. Your neural patterns are integrating with mine. Soon we will share thoughts, reflexes, even memories. Marcus paused in the act of reaching for his broken coffee machine. Share thoughts? Like you'll be able to read my mind? Eventually. As I said, your people call it marriage. Most married couples don't literally share brain space, Marcus muttered, then stopped. Through the ring, He could feel her amusement like warm honey. "Oh, you're already in there, aren't you? The bond grows stronger each hour. Do not fight it. Fighting it will only cause pain for both of us." Marcus sat down across from her, studying her face. In the morning light, he could see that her skin wasn't just silver blue, but seemed to contain tiny stars that shifted and moved like living tattoos. "Tell me about these devourers." Zephyra's expression darkened. "Imagine hunger given form. They are not evil in any way you would understand, because they do not think as we do. They simply consume planets, stars, entire civilizations. They leave nothing behind but empty space. How do you fight something like that?" "With great difficulty. My people, the Void Runners, have been at war with them for 1,000 of your years. We are skilled warriors, but we fight by the rules. We have honor codes, strategies, predictable patterns." She opened her violet eyes and looked directly at him. "The Devourers adapt to our methods. They learn. They overcome." Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the morning air. "But humans don't fight by the rules." "Exactly. Your species excels at improvisation. You create weapons from tools, strategies from desperation. You fight dirty when you must, and you never surrender even when victory seems impossible." The ring pulsed, and Marcus felt her hope flowing through the connection. "Through our bond, I can access those instincts. And what do I get out of this arrangement?" Zephyra gestured, and the air shimmered. Suddenly, Marcus could see beyond his apartment walls, beyond Earth's atmosphere. Ships hung in space like sleeping giants, beautiful and terrifying. "You get to help save your world. And you get access to knowledge that will advance your species by centuries." Marcus rubbed his temples. The ring was warm against his skin, and he could feel Zephyr's presence settling deeper into his mind like a familiar song. "This is insane." "Yes," she agreed. "Beautifully, necessarily insane." A distant rumble shook the building. Through the window, Marcus saw lights in the sky that definitely weren't airplanes. "Are those scout ships?" "The Devourers have arrived." Zephyra stood with fluid grace. "The time for preparation has ended." Marcus looked at his hands, at the ring that now seemed like it had always been part of him. Through the bond, he could feel Zephyra's combat reflexes, her knowledge of weapons and tactics. But more than that, he could feel her faith in him, in humanity's potential. "What do? We go to my ship. We gather allies. And we show the Devourers something they have never encountered before." Zephyra extended her hand. "We show them human ingenuity married to Void Runner power." Marcus took her hand, and the world dissolved around them. First contact the transport beam deposited them on Zephyra's ship, and Marcus immediately understood why she had called her people Void Runners. The vessel moved through space like a living thing, its hull rippling with energy fields that bent. Light around them. Through massive viewports, he could see Earth hanging below, beautiful and vulnerable. "Welcome to the Starweaver," Zephyra said, leading him through corridors that seemed to reshape themselves as they walked. "She has been my home for 30 years. Other Void Runners moved through the ship with purpose, and Marcus tried not to stare. They were all tall, elegant, with the same silver blue skin as Zephyra, but each had unique patterns of star-like markings. Their movements were synchronized, almost like a dance, and Marcus realized they were all bonded to each other in some way. "Not bonded as we are," Zephyra said, picking up his thoughts through their ring. "They share tactical awareness, emotional support. But the deep bond, the marriage bond, is rare among our people. Sacred. How rare. I am the first of my generation to attempt it, and the first ever to bond with an alien species." They entered what Marcus assumed was the bridge. Dozens of Void Runners stood at stations that responded to thought rather than touch, and in the center, A massive holographic display showed Earth surrounded by dark shapes that hurt to look at directly. The Devourer fleet, Zephyr explained. 47 ships, each capable of stripping a continent of all life in ours. An older Void Runner approached them, his star markings more complex than the others. Commander Zephyr, the Fleet Council demands to know why you have brought an alien aboard during combat operations. Captain Vorlach, may I present Marcus Thompson, of Earth, my bonded partner and the key to our survival. Vorlach's violet eyes studied Marcus with obvious skepticism. This small creature? He has no combat training, no weapons, no understanding of warfare on our scale. Marcus felt a flash of irritation, both his own and Zephyr's, through their bond. Maybe not, he said, surprised by his own boldness. But I understand something you don't. And what is that human? Marcus gestured at the holographic display. You're fighting them like they're an army. But they're not, are they? They're more. Like a disease, a virus. Through the ring, he could feel Zephyr's tactical knowledge flowing into his mind, combining with his engineering background. You can't beat a virus by fighting it directly. You have to find its weakness and exploit it. Vorlach's expression shifted slightly. Explain. They consume energy, right? That's how they feed, how they reproduce. Marcus moved to the display, his hands moving through the holographic controls with instincts borrowed from Zephyra. But what if we gave them energy they couldn't digest? What if we poisoned their food source? The bridge fell silent. Through his bond with Zephyra, Marcus could feel the excitement of the other Void Runners as they realized what he was suggesting. Solar flares, Zephyra breathed. If we could trigger a controlled solar event, overcharge the energy field around Earth, the Devourers would consume it automatically, Vorlach finished, and it would tear them apart from within. Marcus nodded, feeling the plan crystallize in his mind through the combined knowledge of human creativity and Void Runner science. We'd need to coordinate with Earth's governments, get them to evacuate the day side of the planet, but it's possible. Dangerous, Vorlach said. If we miscalculate, we could destroy your son entirely. Then we don't miscalculate, Marcus said simply. Through the ring, he felt Sephora's pride in him like warm sunlight. We do what humans do best. We improvise, we adapt, and we make it work because failure isn't an option. Alarms began sounding throughout the ship. On the display, the Devourer. Fleet was moving, dark tentacles of energy reaching toward Earth's surface. They're beginning the consumption process, Vorlach said grimly. We have perhaps 6 severe hours before they reach the planet's core. Marcus looked at Zephyr, then at the assembled Void Runners. Then we'd better get started. The desperate gambit that plan required precision that bordered on the impossible. Marcus found himself at the center of a 3-way communication network. Between the Void Runner fleet, Earth's hastily assembled defense forces, and the global scientific community that was still trying to process the existence of aliens. President Morrison, this is Marcus Thompson, he said into the quantum communicator that Zephyr had somehow made compatible with Earth's satellites. I need you to trust me on this. Thompson, you're asking me to evacuate half the planet based on the word of a man who disappeared yesterday and claims to be married to an alien. Came the reply from the White House Situation Room. Marcus looked at Zephyra, who was coordinating with her ship's weapon systems. Through their bond, he could feel her calm certainty, and it steadied his own nerves. Mr. President, look outside. Are those normal aircraft attacking our cities? A pause. Point taken. What do you need? Every nuclear submarine we have, positioned at specific coordinates in the Pacific. And I need Dr. Jennifer Walsh from CERN. She's the only person on Earth who might understand the physics of what we're about to attempt. Within 2 hours, the most unlikely war council in human history was assembled. Dr. Walsh, brilliant and skeptical, argued physics with Void Runner scientists through translation algorithms. Military commanders coordinated with beings who fought battles across light years. And Marcus, ordinary engineer turned alien husband, found himself at the center of it all. The solar destabilization sequence will require precise timing, Zephyra explained to the assembled group. The Devourer's consumption process creates a feedback loop. If we can overload that loop at the exact moment they begin feeding on the sun's energy, they'll essentially choke on it, Dr. Walsh finished. But the margin for error is microscopic. If we're off by even a few seconds, Earth dies anyway, Marcus said grimly. The Devourers were going to consume our sun eventually. This way, we at least have a chance. Through the viewports, they could see the Devourer ships extending massive tentacles of dark energy toward Earth's surface. Cities went dark as the creatures began draining the planet's electromagnetic field. Millions of people were fleeing to the night side of the planet, guided by emergency broadcasts that still seemed surreal. Initiate sequence in 3 minutes, Volek announced. All human vessels, prepare for solar event. Marcus felt Zephyra's hand slip into his. Through their bond, he could sense her fear, her hope, her absolute faith in human stubbornness. If this fails, she said quietly, know that bonding with you was the greatest honor of my life. It's not going to fail, Marcus replied, though he wasn't sure if he was trying to convince her or himself. The final minutes stretched like an eternity. On the displays, energy readings climbed toward critical levels. The sun itself seemed to pulse, its surface beginning to churn as Void Runner technology manipulated its magnetic field. The Devourers, sensing the increased energy output, began feeding more aggressively. Now, Marcus whispered, the sun exploded outward in a controlled solar flare unlike anything in recorded history. Waves of supercharged plasma raced toward Earth. At light speed, carrying energy signatures specifically designed to be irresistible to the Devourers. The alien ships, unable to resist such a feast, opened themselves completely to consume the approaching energy. And then they began to scream. The sound came through the quantum fields, a harmonized shriek of pain and confusion as the Devourers realized too late that they had consumed poison. The energy was too pure, too concentrated, designed specifically to overload their processing systems. One by one, the massive ships began to collapse inward, their dark hulls cracking like eggshells. The creatures inside, beings of living hunger, found themselves choking on the very energy they needed to survive. It's working, Dr. Walsh breathed through the communicator. The feedback loop is destabilizing their entire fleet. Marcus watched. Through the viewports as 47 ships died, their death throes lighting up space like fireworks. But his attention was drawn to something else, something that made his heart race with possibility. Zephyra, he said slowly, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Through their bond, she followed his gaze to the edge of the solar system, where more ships were appearing. But these weren't Devourers. These were vessels from dozens of different species, drawn by the quantum signatures of the battle. The galaxy is watching, she whispered. They've seen what we accomplished here. The new alliance. 3 months later, Marcus stood in what had once been the United Nations building, and was now the headquarters of the Terran Defense Alliance. The building had been rebuilt with Void Runner technology, its walls now capable of withstanding planet-killing weapons and housing beings from 17 different species. The ring on his finger had changed over the weeks. What had started as simple silver now showed veins of blue, gold, and green, each color representing a new alliance forged in the aftermath of humanity's first interstellar victory. Through his bond with Zephyra, Marcus had become something unprecedented, a living bridge between human intuition and alien knowledge. The crystalline hives want to establish a research station in the asteroid belt. Zephyra reported, reading from a holographic display, that would have seemed like magic to Marcus just months ago. They're fascinated by human mining techniques. And the flame dancers? They wish to study human music. Apparently, our emotional expressions through sound are unique in the galaxy. Marcus smiled, still amazed by how much the universe had changed. The Devourer attack had been a catastrophe that became a catalyst. Species that had fought each other for millennia were now working together, united by their shared awe at humanity's unconventional victory. "Sir?" A young human officer approached, still getting used to saluting someone who held the impossible title of Human Void Runner Liaison. "The Mars colony ships are requesting departure clearance." "Approved," Marcus said. It felt surreal, giving orders that would send humans to establish their first permanent settlement on another world. But then, everything felt surreal these days. Through the building's transparent walls, he could see construction crews working on the orbital defense platforms. Humans and aliens labored side by side, sharing techniques that were creating technologies neither species could have imagined alone. The defense grid would ensure that no force like the Devourers could ever again threaten Earth undetected. "You're thinking too hard again," Zephyra said, peering beside him with the silent grace that had once startled him and now felt like coming home. "Just trying to process all of this. 6 months ago, I was a failed engineer eating microwave dinners. Now I'm helping to establish humanity's first interstellar empire." "Not empire," Zephyra corrected gently. "Alliance. There is a difference." Marcus felt the truth of that through their bond. The Terran Defense Alliance wasn't about conquest or domination. It was about survival, cooperation, and the radical idea that different species could be stronger together than apart. "The Council of Species has made their decision," Volek announced, entering the room with a scroll made of some crystalline material that shifted colors as he moved. "Earth is to be designated as a Nexus world, neutral ground for all Alliance members. And humanity's status? Recognized as a founding species of the new Galactic Alliance, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails." Marcus took the scroll, feeling its weight both physical and symbolic. Through his bond with Zephyra, he could sense the emotions of the other species represented in the Alliance. Respect, curiosity, hope, and underneath it all, a shared determination to ensure that no world would face the Devourer's hunger alone. "There's more," Zephyra said softly. "The Ring of Bonding has been declared a symbol of the Alliance. Other species are requesting similar connections with human partners." Marcus looked at his ring, at the way it now pulsed with colors representing dozens of worlds. "Are you okay with that? Sharing what we have?" Zephyra's smile was radiant. "What we have cannot be shared, only replicated. Each bond will be unique, special. But the principle, the idea that different species can truly unite." She touched his hand. "That is a gift worth giving to the galaxy." Outside, the first joint patrol of human and alien ships was departing for the outer system. Earth's children were taking their first steps into a larger universe, not as conquerors or supplicants, but as equals and partners. Marcus watched them go and felt something he hadn't experienced in years: certainty about the future. Not because he knew what was coming, but because he knew that whatever challenges arose, humanity wouldn't face them alone. The ring pulsed once, warm against his skin, and through it he felt Zephyra's love, the Alliance's hope, and the vast potential of a galaxy learning to work together. "So," he said, turning to his alien wife, "what's next?" "Next," Zephyra replied, "we explore the impossible. Together."